You were an agnostic.
Agnostic.
You were an agnostic, not an atheist.
Yeah.
From Australia. How did you first become introduced to Sai Baba's form, to Sai Baba's name, to Sai Baba's reality?
That's a very interesting question because I kept away from God and religion as far as possible. He guided us. We had many, many interviews. And to do the right thing by Swami, I had to become unpopular in my own community. I silently got out, went to the room, our guest room, locked the door, buried my head into the pillow and cried and cried and cried and said, Baba, you must forgive me for this. I won't touch alcohol ever again. They couldn't get me out of the room for nearly 15 minutes. I was like a child. Then I came, I didn't talk to anybody, I had my dinner and went and slept. Instantly I gave up alcohol. Swami has told me many times in private interviews, there is nothing bad whatsoever in my entire creation. Right. Secondly, he has said, the motive behind your action that matters to me more than what you do. When Swami came gliding, I was watching. And about 10 feet from me, Swami waved his hand and created Vibhuti. This is going back December 1977. Immediately I closed my eyes because I have seen that fellow in Singapore also create things. Immediately I closed my eyes and prayed like this and said, God, please save me from this man. And Baba, as he walked past, touched my hand. I am praying, God, save me from this man. And Baba walks past me, reaches and taps on my hand and goes. We started a center in our house. Lot of problems, lot of rivalries, lot of jealousy we had to go through. Here we come, Baba makes us the most important visitors. We come here for the first time to Puttaparthi. In 5 days we get 3 interviews. In front of the altar I'll sit and talk, Baba, now I don't have any expenses, money is accumulating, 2 doctors earning so much of money, what do I do with the money? And the inner voice, he talks to me from inside and said, spend the money for good purpose and then spread my love and message. Again I'll tell you this, I'm not talking. You are drawing Swami out of me.
For years, Dr. Sara Pavan could be seen standing by the side of holy man Sri Satya Sai Baba. This medical doctor from Australia has been a Sai Baba devotee since 1980 and now lives with his wife, Dr. Devi Pavan, in Sai Baba's Indian ashram. Welcome to Souljourns. This interview was recorded in Puttaparthi, India in December 2012.
Yes, people are people. As long as you're a human being, materialism and control are 2 very strong side effects of ego and strong sense of individuality. In spirituality, it blunts up these sharp corners, softens you up. We all go through. I have even talked very openly in some of my regular talks. A child born is God until the parents give the ego by giving a singularity of a name to identify the body. But since we are identifying ourselves by the body, this individuality will continue. And success is determined by achievements in the outer world at any cost. So competition and rivalry starts from the infancy. The parents do not show anything else. No child, because of lack of spirituality, because in my understanding and experience, philosophy is one thing, life is another, religion is third. I have talked series of talks on geopolitics of religion and empires and taken Christianity as an example to narrate the story and say this effect is in every religion. In other words, there is a kind of unholy alliance between the state and the church, a Maharaja and a Hindu temple, a caliph or a sultan and a mosque, and so on. So Swami had sent me to, I was an agnostic all my life. I was not interested in religion. Having lived in 6 countries, trained one more country in Sweden. We settled in Australia. And Swami himself later in the first interview said, I have sent you to many countries to gain experience. Yes. And now I have sent you the best country in the world. And You have a lot of work to do there.
Australia, you meant?
And at that time there was no organization, nothing. And we did not know. He guided us. We had many, many interviews. And to do the right thing by Swami, I had to become unpopular in my own community. Because I clearly defined love has no boundary. Love has no body relationship. Love is divine. Okay, you have got a society of people from various tribes or cultures or linguistic groups, enjoy it. But when it comes to spirituality, it's a unifying force. Because ego is divisive, love is uniting. Like the atomic energy is only one. But if used for selfish purposes, it divides and explodes. If used for good purposes, unites into fusion and produces an enormous amount of power generating electricity. Like electricity, you can electrocute a person or use it to run air conditioners and fans and so on. So, this energy is only one. But the way Swami has told me many times in private interviews, there is nothing bad whatsoever in my entire creation.
Right.
Secondly, he has said, the motive behind your action that matters to me more than what you do. So a person who is not aware of the cosmic drama will look at the outer event and qualify or judge that event as right, wrong, good or bad. But from the universal perspective, there is nothing that is happening in the world which is good or bad. Everything is perfect. As Christ said, find the truth, it shall set you free. Not a sparrow will fall without the Father's will. Not a blade of grass can move without the Father's will. And that is absolute. So, in my last talk, I mentioned about the Supreme Spirit, the primordial force, which is locked up energy with every attribute that we can conceive in the manifest world, in the primordium. Like the DNA blueprint, fertilized egg cell before it started differentiating. And Swami himself has said, I separated myself from myself so that I can be many. This has been troubling me for a long time to find a meaning so that I can relate to people how that could be interpreted. And the answer I gave that came to me during this recent birthday was, even the mind is part of the primordial. Everything in the primordium that is potential not become kinetic. And creation became kinetic. And different proportions of different things are manifest to play the cosmic drama. If Shakespeare could spell it out, plucking it from the Akash, without Vedas, without Sanskrit, without any philosophy, all the world is a stage. Men and women are actors. With a point of entry and exit, while on stage they play many different roles. That is not negotiable. So if Shakespeare could pluck it out of the Akash and tell the fundamental truth, that means in the Akash there's so much of truth only a silent mind can grab. Every discovery by Einstein or Galileo or anybody else is plucked from the Akash.
Yes.
Because there's nothing new that we are discovering.
Yes.
So the problem is the mind, when it is caught up with all the conditioning, layers of make-believe system from birth, we can't see through the veil of Maya. So this is why the drama starts. And God created this multiplicity out of His unity. So the Spirit is only one. God as pure self is pure energy, pure love and pure will. That is why the Spirit is only wills. It doesn't think or desire. The Spirit just wills. And that Spirit part of Swami, which is most manifest when he draws on that, instantly he can visualize a ring and the ring comes out of his hand. So this is the power of the will. It transcends time and space. It's instant, like telepathy, teleportation and all that. So I have seen all these powers of Swami in different ways. But for the Creator, whether it's animal kingdom or plant kingdom or before that mineral or human, it's very simple to acknowledge, most humbly. We too are animals on two legs, but highest evolved with the only species that has the potential to realize the true self within. Animals have mind, humans have mind. Even an ant can recognize another ant passing by and then give way. It's a mind, it's like a computer, small processor.
Yes.
The human mind is the most powerful mind in creation. There is no mind so powerful as the human mind. By itself can be a devil and a demon. So you need a powerful mind to achieve, because mind is a powerful instrument. The mind is an interface between the manifest and the unmanifest, between man and God. Without that interface, there is no communion and communication.
Question about that.
Yes,
You're a man of science. You are an atheist. You're not an Indian. You weren't
I'm not
born
an
here.
atheist.
He's
You were an agnostic.
Agnostic.
You're an agnostic, not an atheist.
Yeah.
From Australia. How did you first become introduced to Sai Baba's form, to Sai Baba's name, to Sai Baba's reality?
That's a very interesting question, because I kept away from God and religion as far as possible. And in moving from country to country, born in Malaysia, educated in Ceylon at that time, because the Japanese occupation of Malaya had ruined the educational system. Because of a parental ancestry is from Ceylon, immediately after the Second World War, I went to Ceylon with my parents. My father was a doctor and he retired, and we were going to settle there. I did my medicine there, and that too on special condition that I'm deemed to be a citizen of Ceylon by descent, but being foreign born, I still carry the relic of the British citizenship and possibly Malayan citizenship, and until I renounce it, I'm allowed temporarily in the university. Graduated, but because of the communal violence, because the majority want to eat up the minority, the Sinhalese versus the Tamils. So when I was a medical student itself, I went through that ordeal. My inner soul told me, this is not going to be your country, get out as soon as you graduate. So after graduation and married a Ceylon-born girl, a Tamil like me, we left the country. We went back to Malaysia. And there the Malays said, you have no right for citizenship even if you are born there, because you have been away from the country for more than 5 years since independence in 1957. We arrived there in 62, just over 5 years. So I ended up in Singapore, but only on a contract. And cut the story short, things changed so rapidly. The East African Indians were flooding into Britain in 1967, and the British government brought a blanket rule, except those who are patrials, that means the parents born in Britain, or who have got a British passport issued in the United Kingdom itself, not outside, will have automatic entry. So all other places had letter D in front of the British passport number, which is Dominion status. So overnight, I became a passportless, stateless, placeless, jobless person, because the Singapore government wouldn't renew my contract. However, with the help of someone, the foreign minister, who is known to my family from my childhood days from Malaya during the war, he was the right-hand man of Lee Kuan Yew, at that time foreign minister. He could have given me anything in Singapore, but he didn't want the Chinese to see that a countryman is helping a countryman. He just picked up the phone and spoke to the British High Commissioner, and he said, go to the British High Commission and pick the visa and go to UK. Okay. Now I passed the part 1 of my anesthetic specialty. I've got jobs both in Australia and England. But my peers said better go to England for better training. I got a plum job in a pioneering big teaching hospital in Liverpool, the father of pediatric anesthesia for the world himself, Jackson Rees. So I was allowed to go to England by Australia, otherwise they were wanting me to come there. But when I was stateless and passportless, I wrote to New Zealand, American, Canadian, and Australian High Commissions, this is my state, please help me. Nobody replied.
Oh.
Only Australia sent me a form. So I filled up and applied. Within a month, I got my migrant visa.
And was it in Australia then eventually?
No, in Singapore.
In Singapore?
I'm in Singapore.
Okay. So was it there that you first learned of Baba?
No, With the Australian migration, my British passport is now valid for me to enter Britain. Right? So we are traveling to UK. So on the way we stop over in Ceylon, where we graduated. My wife's parents are there in Colombo. My sisters and my widowed mother is in Jaffna. So there my school teacher came specially to see me because I was a very bright student. I was his favorite. He had come to see Baba the previous year. He became blind with bilateral retinal detachment. Baba gave him interview and told him, I'll take care of you. You don't need your eyes. I'll give you other senses to develop so that without the eyes you can live. And he had experience. He can, he has got developed other perceptions through hearing and smell and other things. Swami's grace. And he carried on teaching blindly physics for many more years. Right. He specially came to see me and told me, I'm so proud of you, I'm so happy, but do me a favor. Before you proceed to England, go to India, see Sai Baba and get his blessing.
Had you ever heard his name before that?
Never. Never.
Did he show you his picture?
Never.
And you must,
He described Sai Baba to me.
And because you loved this teacher so much, you followed his advice.
No. I was so rude because we had some bad experience with some person claiming to be Krishna's avatar in Singapore, who is actually a black magician. On Krishna's birthday, his estate type of people will go to follow. He's a Kerala man, and he goes into a trance and they offer him a chicken as an offering. He'll break the neck and drink blood. After seeing that, we were sick of all these so-called swamis, and probably he's a black magician of some sort practicing occult. So we said, thank you God, I don't want to have anything to do with this kind of people. So the moment Sai Baba's name was mentioned, I told my teacher, you must be kidding. I must be insane to listen to you and go and see such a person. Just then, my sister's house is just 50 yards away. My daughter was 2.5 years old, lying in bed, and my wife didn't want to continue with the conversation. It's a moonlit evening, and we were sitting outside in a courtyard in the village area, and she went to sleep. Immediately, she felt something slithering under the sheet. She jumped out and switched the lights on, and there was a cobra. She grabbed the child and ran screaming. And when I said, this is all rubbish, my teacher tells, see, be respectful. Sai Baba has come in the form of cobra, he said.
Oh my goodness.
Then in my ignorance and ego, I said, he can send 1,000 cobras, don't fool me. That was my first encounter. And my wife also heard about Sai Baba from her friend who's a doctor in Colombo, who had lost her husband. Because she was bereaving the death of her husband, we didn't want to say anything about Sai Baba. Sure. She found comfort in Sai Baba.
Sure.
So we went to UK, 4 years of hard work, professional training, advancement. We were in Liverpool.
She's a doctor, you're a doctor?
She's a doctor too. So she had multiple specialty diploma level. She was doing ophthalmology in Singapore. So she got the London diploma in ophthalmology. But just that year, that specialty was not recognized as a full specialty. She had to do FRCS, for which she has to have resident appointment in the hospital. Now with husband and wife working, my work was very hard as an anesthesiologist. So somebody has to sacrifice a career. So naturally mother, we had another child there, so she gave up that career. So friends told her to do some diploma in public health, which she did in the University of Liverpool, became a school medical officer, did public health work. This is a different type of a work, not clinical, acute, demanding, night duties, weekend and things like that. It worked out fine. 4 years later, we leave England, not for any reason. Now we have got our British citizenship fully established by the Home Office, because as soon as I went there, I got my postgraduate final fellowship, Went to the Home Office and they queried, what about Malaya where you were born? What about Ceylon where your ancestry is from? I told them there is no way I could do this. Then they went in. 10 minutes later they came, what these countries had to lose. We are giving you full British citizenship. You can stay here permanently. So I was going to settle down. But will Swami let me settle down? I don't know who Swami is. I had difficulties, especially racial kind, where Enoch Powell was screaming his head off about the brown skins in Britain.
That's too bad. You
And my house was smashed by skinheads, pelting stones.
Oh.
So I thought enough is enough. It's a cold country. This is my misfortune. I went on a short-term job to Sweden. It was very cold and people too were cold like the weather. They hardly smile, introvertish. I had no way. So I'm looking afar, thinking of going to Australia. I'm so used to a paid job that I'm still waiting for a paid job offer. I could have walked in, I could have done extremely well because the system was different. There was nobody to tell me what the system in Australia was like. So I waited. Finally, I got a very top job in a teaching hospital in New Zealand as the director of pediatric anesthesia intensive care to set up a new department because I come from a very pristine, world famous pediatric hospital in Liverpool. So my boss also told me, your children are young, you might like it there.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who married a Kiwi girl and is an orthopedic surgeon. And at that time Cold War was on, the world was full of problems. And my friend said, even if the whole world starves, you will never starve here, number one.
Right.
Even if there is a nuclear cataclysm, New Zealand is far away from all that. It's a Greenpeace country. But you may not have not a money, but you will have a very peaceful life in natural surrounding. So we went, I learned how to be a better Kiwi, did a lot of things, and we migrated there. And I got a little booklet, so used to big cities with millions of people. But I got a little booklet from the New Zealand High Commission. Beware, that was the cover. Warning. First page. We humans are outnumbered. Next page. By 20 to 1 cattle. Next page. 60 to 1 sheep. Our very life depends on these animals. So don't bring anything to ruin their well-being. So Department of Agriculture warning. They're very strict. They will check every shoe, and if there's any dirt or sand, they will take it out, brush it with antiseptic and everything and give the shoe back. All free of charge at the customs. Even if you say you have not been to a farm, they want to have a look at the shoe.
So sweet.
That kind of strict. Anyway, 3 years I did well, but not enough challenges for my academic interest. There was too much of parochialism. But for the first time we felt we were full-fledged human beings. And there were not many of our kind around.
Accepted.
So culturally we completely changed. We were actually more like the British migrants in New Zealand, socially and otherwise, except for the skin color. We used to have big parties. And I learned how to carve the roast while my wife will make the roast, and we live like Westerners. We are invited, and that's only social life. Go sailing, play golf twice a week, etc.
Very nice. Nice.
So
life.
while one day playing golf, I was very privileged because I was rubbing shoulders with the top brass of the local people, the mayor of Hamilton, senior surgeon Archibald, and a urologist Jim Gray. We used to play a Stapleford 4 every Wednesday afternoon. Right. Prestigious golf club. And enjoying life, drinking beer and things like that.
It's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And one day I mishit a ball, sliced it far away. All the others were going on the main fairway. I had to go towards the Waikato River. And before I could pick the ball for my second shot, suddenly a mystical experience happened. I was able to see my whole life like a movie in front of me. I was not even where I was. every situation in my life unfolded like a movie, like the footprints on the sand story. And I realized, had I got what I wanted, given my limited understanding of myself and the world, I would never have come this far. Why? Because when I was studying in Jaffna Village School, I never had a pair of shoes to wear because we were in poverty. My whole story is like from log cabin to the White House. And all this done by the unseen hand of God, because I considered, had I got what I wanted, I would have never achieved these heights and success. And so, even though I'm agnostic, I coined my own term, invisible hand of God has taken me this far. But never changed. I still drank like a fish, smoked like a chimney, played golf, and name it, I ate it. From pork to beef to snail to name it, I've eaten it. Because when I lived in Singapore, I learned how to eat like Chinese and their delicacies too. We lived among Chinese. So today I could say, because of all this, I'm a world citizen.
Yes.
And that was very conducive for my spiritual outlook.
Excellent.
Then, because our professional ambitions were curtailed, there were some difficulties. Finally, I decided to quit New Zealand and go back to England. My wife was settled there well and doing general practice with part-time ophthalmology, 2 daughters doing very well, but they agreed to let me go. So until I settle, they will continue in New Zealand. So I stopped over in Australia. Now my Australian visa is expired, but there's a trans-Tasman reciprocity. Now I'm a permanent resident with a British passport, full-fledged British passport in New Zealand. Therefore, Queen is the head of state for Australia too, and I no need for any trans-migrant reciprocity. So I could stay there. So I decided, do a bit of work and see how things are. Freelance. More like a taxi driver picking up passengers anywhere. And people got to know me. They will call me to do relief work, locum work they call it. And my work was so good and dexterous that everybody liked me because I had real training.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in no time I got settled. For the first time I'm enjoying freedom, that I am my own boss, but I had to work hard.
Sure.
This way, step by step, I got very good opportunities even in teaching hospitals. Even though I was an outsider, just go and relieve somebody, and then that chap is sick and he can't come back, they want someone appointed. Mm-hmm. The surgeon himself will ask, there's a vacancy here, have you applied? I'll say, is there a vacancy? He said, yes, I want you to come. Apply. I'll make sure you get it. It's all Swami doing. We were very prosperous within 5 years. We had a 7-bedroom mansion in the geometric center of Sydney. And both doctors doing very well. We could have lived happily ever after in a very materialistic world.
Yes.
But Swami had his own plan.
Yes.
He scuttled everything. Why? Because the quest was there since that mystical experience in 1974 in New Zealand. So all the time when I'm alone, I will keep on crying out, where are you? Please come to me. Yeah. In parties, especially there at home, you won't believe, on my own I could knock about 3/4 bottle of scotch. From 7 p.m. by 2 a.m. I'm knocking it neat. And I'm literally gone. And I'll sit in an armchair, my head spinning around.
Yes.
And I'll say, God, where are you? Come to me. Come to me. So this went on. But not Sai Baba. Not Sai Baba. But I read a lot about Yogananda, Ramakrishna, Ramana Maharishi, and many other prophets, Sufi, Jalaluddin Rumi, and all this.
And Paul
But
Brunton.
everything.
And Paul Brunton. And Paul Brunton.
No, Paul Brunton was later, yes.
Oh, later, okay.
But nothing happened. And the important thing is, I got into transcendental meditation when I was in New Zealand to calm down. So I was initiated by Maharishi's disciple, who specially came from Wellington.
What year was this?
1974.
1975 is when I was initiated in the TM.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Now, within 2 weeks, I was developed mastery at it. And being a medical man, I wanted to become a tutor and I wanted to do research. I read all the works of Herbert Benson and Ed Wallace from San Francisco,
Writing
all
on
about
the
skin
effect-
resistance and
yes.
that and this. Very scientific.
Changing the crime rate in a city by having so many people meditate.
Absolutely. I was even thinking of going to Switzerland to meet Maharishi himself, become his disciple. But it was not Swami's plan. When I moved over to Australia, the circumstances were such I had to neglect my TM. Eventually it dropped off. Okay, my wife joined me. Now still I am searching. 1979 I visit UK for a conference. Qantas direct flight with only refueling stops at Singapore and Bahrain. It was some, I think it's a VC-10 or something like that those days. And on the way I had smoked like a chimney and I was drinking plenty because they would give free drinks those days. By the time I landed in London, I was literally sick as a dog. I had to take antibiotics before going to Birmingham for the conference. I returned to London and then I heard one of my old friends who was working in East Africa, or rather West Africa, in Sierra Leone, is now living in London, a dentist. He was a kind of a flamboyant type like me and we used to drink and all this. So I wanted to meet my old mate. So the day before I leave, I was determined to visit him. I managed to get his number, phoned him up. And he said, today is a Thursday, why don't you come another day? I can't give you a decent meal. I said, I'm coming to see you, not for your meal. We can go to any good restaurant for a meal. Because he was a bit apologetic that he's going to give you a vegetarian dinner. So I went on London Underground to Ilford. He picked me up at the station. It's all typical British 3-bedroom semis, tiny rooms upstairs. And then after about 10 minutes, he got himself, his wife excused, because they said, we want to go and pray for a little while and come here is a magazine you can read while we are upstairs. What made me say that, I don't know. I said, can't I come with you for the prayer too?
It was too
Because he was shy to reveal that their devotion to Baba is so intense, knowing the type of fellow I was.
And you didn't have an idea what a puja was?
Nothing.
Okay.
So we go upstairs. No, there was only bhajan. A typical small bedroom where there's a big double bed. The wall unit in front, only this much of space, about 18 feet, where the 3 kids were squashed up below. The dressing recess, mirror recess,
Like this.
was temporarily used as an altar. So the wife has to sit on one side of the bed, that's all the room there is. And the husband has to sit on the other side of the bed, that's all the room. So where's the room for me? I sit by the doorway and I watch them singing bhajans. It was like Greek to me, all Sanskrit and Indian words. But Swami played this drama. They sang, alternating, only the husband and wife sing, children mumble. Halfway through the bhajan, the lead singer will break down and get choked with emotion. The partner has to finish it. Now the partner starts the next bhajan, he gets choked with emotion and the spouse had to finish it. This went on like a relay continuously for 6 bhajans. And they concluded. I thought this was crazy. They were feeling so embarrassed to cry like this in front of me, a hard nut like me. You know, laughing stock they would have been in my mind. So they didn't want to talk to me. Straight away said, let's have dinner. So that let's talk. It's still summertime daylight. Rose gardens were behind their house, beautiful, still bright sun. So we went to the backyard and admired the roses. They didn't want to talk to me. Spend more time. And then I was about to leave. He said, I think it's a bit late for you to go by underground because I got to go from southeast to northwest. It's a long journey. And the skinheads could mug you in the train. I'm happy to drive you. So he drove me all the way on the outer circular road and dropped me at my brother-in-law's place. My wife's brother was a pathologist there. As he dropped me, he opened the glove box and pulled out Paul Brunton's book, A Search in Secret India. And what did I take? I took a very expensive dining set with a dining tablecloth with serviettes, 6 serviettes, all Aboriginal hand design and things like that, as a gift.
I must tell you before you go on that, I had surgery in January 2012 this year, and I believe one of the real gifts for Jody and me was to have the occasion of that very book and then 5 of Paul Brunton's books fall into our hands. And it gave us such a deep, wonderful, added appreciation.
Did you read Message from Arunachala also?
Yes, we did.
Where the cover has got almost like orbiting satellites and everything.
And he lived there with...
And this is where he returned after Ramana passed away. He went up there and meditated. And he wrote that book, Message from Arunachala.
And he went there initially to prove that there were no such things as genuine holy men.
Yeah, that whole story is so beautiful. You see, my problem is actually, I am a Westerner with the Eastern body. I don't fit into any picture. Even in the organization, this happened to me in Australia. Swami wanted the Westerners to lead the organization. Although we did all the work and brought it up to a certain point, and then they changed things around, and suddenly I was booted out. It really hurt me.
They don't know what pigeonhole to put you in, and I'm sorry, I apologize because I interrupted you, and I want to continue with where your story left off, but I wanted to underscore that because Paul Brunton, people can find his book still for sale, used on Amazon.com, and In Search of Hidden...
Search in Secret India.
In Search of Secret India is the masterpiece of all of his books that he wrote. Yes?
And of course my wife turned to Baba in 1975. How? Because I was settling in Australia. I said, don't come straight away. Your mum and your brother and sister are in London. So why don't you go for a holiday taking the kids? So I got her a ticket to go and visit some friends in Hong Kong, have a holiday, and then from there go to Ceylon and then to England. So while she was staying with her mother and brother, she had a dream. Baba appears to her and tells her, you think I'm not real? I have come to help you, trust me. I have come to help you, trust me. And it was so convincing a dream. When she woke up, she asked the people, do you know anything about Sai Baba? He came in my dream and he said this. And she made inquiries because they're all eating meat and doing all kinds of things. So some friends told, yes, this is Swami. And he likes Thursday. It's a special day for prayer. And you must be a vegetarian, at least that much you start off. So when she returned to Australia and joined me with the kids, she became a vegetarian on Thursday. When she talked to me about Sai Baba, I said, come on, for God's sake, don't start this again. And she dare not bring a picture of Sai Baba into the house. She had a stamp-sized picture of Sai Baba in her handbag, that's all. If she had brought a big picture into the house, I think our marriage would have gone on the rocks. That kind of anti-Sai Baba emotions I had.
Yet
But-
you were warming up to
Yeah, he was
Sai
warming.
Baba,
So
and-
simply it is that fact that the soil was not ready for that seed.
And when the gift of the book was Paul Brunton's book, what happened? You read it? Did you read it right away?
Oh, this is interesting. Now I did. Thank you for interrupting. You might have to edit it and put it earlier.
Oh no, it'll be perfect.
So
This is-
normally I won't read. When I left New Zealand to Australia, friends came and gave me Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi, and wrote it, the most straightforward man we have ever met. Because I call the spades a spades, even today. That's why I am Mr. Nobody even now. But I don't want to change. People want me to change. I don't want to change. Because Baba tells, your thoughts, words and deeds must be in harmony. But now I'm learning how to get softer and withdraw a lot more. So I'm Mr. Nobody. I'll tell you about MD, MT later. Okay, Paul Brunton's book. At Heathrow, the next day I'm flying. Duty-free shop. Plenty of grog and tobacco. 2 hours to board the flight. So I open the duty-free cigarettes and I light a cigarette. I used to smoke about 30 cigarettes a day. I have smoked like that for nearly 25 years.
And you're a doctor.
Yes, and even while giving anesthetic for lung cancer,
You
for
kept
two and
smoking.
a half hour operation, I would leave my registrar to babysit while I go to the surgeon's room and smoke, seeing that cancer, knowing. So this is where I can say very openly to anybody, knowledge has nothing to do with wisdom. Wisdom can come of grace, not of knowledge, or through personal experience. When you get hammered, you will learn faster.
Okay, back at Heathrow.
Back at Heathrow. So I pull out the book, Curiosity. Yogananda's book, I read a few pages, not interested. I gave it away to somebody interested. That was me.
Too bad.
Now I pull this book out. I start reading. Nothing else to do. Swami knows exactly what book is right for me, at what time and what place, so that I'll be... You won't believe. I was riveted to the book cover to cover and finished the book before I landed Australia.
He was a skeptic. He was a journalist. He
Yes.
was a seeker.
Yes.
He was a debunker. He was going to-
Absolutely.
And he was a Westerner.
And he was
And
a
he was a
Westerner.
Western.
And all of this changed when he discovered the hidden secrets of India.
Absolutely. That is why Swami, because my wife will push Howard Murphy's book for me to read.
P.S. In his book, he never mentioned Sai Baba.
No, never. Never. So, my wife would, in the 70s, she will occasionally want to draw my interest. Maximum I could do is drop her at a bhajan if she wants to go and play golf or go to the club. But she will at night push. One day she pushed Sai Baba's, Howard Murphy's book, opened a particular page of an amazing miracle. I read it. And you know what I told about Howard Murphy? Of course, later he became our very close friends and I have been close to him for many years. But I told him, this is another Westerner who got hooked on to some Indian crooks. That was the kind of ignorance and ego. And Swami knows to get the worst and make him the best also. Because he is God, he can change anything. That is the beauty of my life with Swami. But in this kind of expression, I am unable to express it even here. Leave that aside. So, to me that book was in 3 parts. Paul Brunton. By the time the plane landed, each flight was about 7 to 8 hour segments. London to Bahrain, Bahrain to Singapore, Singapore to Australia. The first third. By the time we landed in Bahrain, Paul Brunton had succeeded taking me across the length and breadth of India and revealing charlatans, magicians. You just pay just 2 rupees and they tell you how they did it.
Many charlatans.
Many charlatans, great yogis and Mahapurushas also. But not yet. The one that he's still seeking.
A couple of hidden gems, though.
Yes. Then the next sector. Now, when I boarded the flight for the second part, I was sweeping away all the ochre people of India with my intransigence and ignorance and ego. By the time I left Bahrain, I knew the one I was seeking must be in India and nowhere else. So I continued reading the book. By the time the plane landed in Singapore, we have found Ramana Maharishi. I was so happy. I was in bliss. And I had already planned, I'll reach Australia, work for 2 weeks, apply for leave for 2 weeks, go straight to Madras, go to Arunachala, sit there, not knowing whether Ramana is still with us or not.
I think he was at that time.
No, sir. I tell you. So I continued reading the book. The fellow next to me, a fellow Australian, will offer me cigarette, offer me, something. I said, no thanks, no thanks. So I'm sure in his mind he must have thought I would have just got hooked on to a very, very, very juicy book that I wouldn't take my eye off. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I hardly ate. 24 hours of flying. Because those days it's like that, 8-hour segment, more than that, about 28 hours of flying. Now, just 1 hour before landing in Sydney, I came across a passage where Ramana Maharishi had left his body in 1951. I can't find that page anymore in that book. I've gone through searching for that page, I can't find it. But when I read that he had already left the body in 1951, I was blown apart, completely blown apart. I broke down and I started crying.
Oh.
And this fellow next to me said, "What's up, mate?"
Oh.
What can I tell him? I just shook his head, nothing, and turned to the left. I was on the port side of the plane. So turned to the left, I see the entire eastern sky, completely pink about the sunrise. And that pink symbolized love. The entire sky was pink. Landed in Sydney. I didn't talk to my wife. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was depressed. 1 month when she thought, what's crazy, this man is so, now he's gone so quiet. Then I know one of my friends, Dr. Pillai from Singapore, you might have met him too, the orthopedic surgeon. They're all very close friends from childhood days during the war. And my father used to treat his father. And he was a leading orthopedic surgeon in Singapore. His story is another amazing story. He's also a Taurian like us, of similar background, culturally and otherwise. But some family crisis forced him to come to India to bring his eldest son, and knowing Baba will solve the problem. That is another story. I don't want to sidestep now. And although I knew about it, I never talked about it. Although I visited Singapore every year and met them, but never interested in Sai Baba. Now, last choice, run out of all options. I phone him up. Half an hour conversation. Those days phone calls are very expensive. And in that conversation, he said, I'm coming to Australia for an orthopedic conference. I will be happy to bring you some books. And I'm happy even to show a slideshow and talk to your friends. If you're interested, gather your friends and we'll have a... So he came. Most of my friends are like me too, but some of them are very religious, ethnically bound, temple type. Very few are like me. Anyway, they all came and they all ridiculed him. And I was feeling a bit embarrassed, but now my heart has softened. I was apologetic all the time. And when I apologized to him and I took him back to drop him at his niece's place, I said, don't worry, these things you face when you come to Sai Baba. Your circle of friends will change. Don't worry. That's all he said. So he gave me Tao of Physics, the Golden Age magazine. There were so many articles, 1978, the Kingdom of Sai, all these things. And I was reading. You won't believe that time I was working 80 hours a week in the operating theatre, an honorary consultant in 5 government hospitals, and giving anesthetic in 3 to 4 private hospitals every week. Actual working hours in the operating theatre alone was 80 hours a week. And I had to work hard and treat pensioners and uninsured people free. That was a contract you have with the big teaching hospitals. And I'm a newcomer, so I picked the crumbs only, where the established fellows leave these learning surgeons who are public cases only. So I earned nothing. I was earning out of 80 hours of work only 20 hours of income. That too I'm lucky if 75% of them pay the bills. Self-employed, but that freedom was fully appreciated. I was prepared to work hard. I'm a hard worker. For me it's 99% perspiration. And Swami changed that perspiration in inspiration now. Now it's 99% inspiration. So this is my life, the hard way. Come back. I have only about 5 hours at the most to sleep at home with this kind of hope. Because I'm called up for obstetric emergencies, trauma, road accidents and all that. I would come down, lie down and read. I can't fall asleep. I will read till 3 a.m. May doze off for 1.5 hours. And then I got to leave the house early morning at 5:30 to start my work, to do an operating list in a private hospital before I go to the public hospital.
And these are now books, as Jody was asking, about Sai Baba. You finally came, after Paul Brunton whetted your appetite to Eastern spirituality.
To read.
To read.
Read only.
Just to read
Just
only.
to read only.
Didn't capture you at this point?
Not yet. Not yet.
Were you still skeptical?
No, I was open.
Okay.
I was open and I was voraciously reading, foregoing my sleep. On the 30th
Could a
of March,
doctor working 80 hours in surgery not have been a reader? How could you have not been a reader
You had no
before?
time, Ted.
I'm outgoing, to clubs and golf and that type of a person. Snookers and so on. Cards. Okay. 30th of March 1980. He comes in my dream.
Baba, first time comes in your dream.
30th of March, 1980.
But if I may interrupt, we came as tourists to India in 1977 December. Not at all interested in Baba. So we went to Bombay, came to Bangalore. We were booked to stay at West End Hotel. All very, very rich, and we were, having money to throw. And a taxi fellow, I tell him to take us to West End. He says it's very expensive, why do you want to waste your money? Baba is talking to me now. I was annoyed, full of ego. I said, you mind your business. You go to West End. Already paid, already booked, I've got the vouchers. Go to the hotel to say hotel is fully booked out. There was no intimation about our arrival. Totally strange to India. So I was at the mercy of the taxi driver. He said, maybe Baba doesn't want you to waste. I said, stop about the Baba business. Now he takes it to a new vegetarian hotel called Chalukya. It's only 60 rupees a day. Clean, new vegetarian, but they are not etiquette oriented. They are all little villagers. They walk into the room when we are undressed also. That type of a cheap place.
Yes, we know those places.
Bangalore, in Bangalore.
Chalukya was the name.
Charukya.
So we go there. The manager of the hotel is standing with the dhoti in the entrance to receive us. And says, you will be late for darshan. Baba is going to Bombay tomorrow. You leave your baggage here and go straight away. I was in a hypnotic state. I was not even bothered of my valuables. Left in a cheap Thosekade type of a cheap hotel, including my cine camera, that and this. Those days I used to carry a Super 8 cine. What made me trust and leave all that, I don't know. The same taxi fellow took us to Whitefield. And we were sitting under the shed. And I was in the second or third row, maybe second row. My wife and daughters were on the other side. When Swami came gliding, I was watching. And about 10 feet from me, Swami waved his hand and created Vibhuti. This is going back December 1977. Immediately I closed my eyes because I have seen that fellow in Singapore also create things. Immediately I closed my eyes and prayed like this and said, God, please save me from this man. And Baba, as he walked past, touched my hand. I am praying, God, save me from this man. And Baba walks past me, reaches and taps on my hand and goes. On the other side, my wife is scared. She doesn't want to look into his eyes. And my younger daughter wrote an article for the Balvikas magazine. She, in her own words, she said it was like watching a horror movie. I had to close my eyes. So that kind of 1977 December. So Baba brought us softly, softly, softly.
So back to 1980 now.
Now
You
back
have
to
this dream.
1980. In that dream, the scenery is my ancestral home in Jaffna, where I studied in a village school. It's like an oasis with plenty of mango trees and jackfruit trees and banana trees and all that. An old quadrangular house. The centerpiece is like a cemented courtyard where people can sit in hot days, and the side door too. My habit is to go to the village town, which is about 1.5 miles away, wait for the newspaper van to come, buy the newspaper, buy a packet of cigarettes and come home, lean the bicycle against a palm tree, go inside, pick a deck chair, bring it out, put under the mango tree and read the newspaper and cigarette, and a village toddy tapper will come to bring down fresh toddy from the palmera tree to drink. This was my kind of a relaxation.
That's great.
When I was a doctor working in Ceylon for a couple of years.
Beautiful.
So I In this dream, I enter the courtyard. The stillness, even as I enter the compound, the stillness, I have no words to describe. Nobody at home. Open the door. There I see Baba in an armchair, flowing white robe, smiling at me. Immediately I ran to him, fell at his feet to offer my reverential prayer. As I bent down, from my shirt pocket, cigarette butts and ash came streaming out as if they were materializing inside the pocket which I had been collecting for years and were piling over his feet and covering his feet. Cigarette ash and cigarette butts. Now I see this is like my own favorite uncle who has come all the way to see me. Now I'm like a little nephew getting caught with this kind of rubbish. So I just look up like that, feeling a bit so embarrassed, and Baba looks at me with a very, not penetrating but a loving look. Unspoken words he's speaking inside my head. Even with all this filth, I truly love you. You are my own. Okay? I didn't wake up from the dream. My wife and I sleep on a double bed. As I woke up, the first thing I do is to put my hand on my bench and light a cigarette packet. When I put my hand on the packet only, I remembered the dream. Then I said, Baba, now I know who you are.
Yes.
I want you. So I will do anything that will please you. It is you who have to take away the craving out of me. So today I won't smoke. Take my hand off. I never tell about this. Dream was too precious for me even to share with my wife. I go to work without cigarette packet. Wherever I see an ashtray, I get a smell of jasmine. Wherever somebody is smoking, I get a smell of jasmine. This started intensifying slowly.
When you say a smell adjustment,
Yeah.
you mean, oh, jasmine.
Jasmine.
A smell of jasmine.
Jasmine.
That's
In
much
Sydney.
better.
There's no jasmines there.
No.
Now day one is over. Come home and I can't believe I didn't have a craving. I would have gone mad with my residents too if I didn't have a smoke.
Amazing. It's a
Right.
miracle.
Then I had a good sleep. Next morning again the same thing. I resolved not to smoke. And instantly I smelled jasmine before I got out of bed. And then I get that smell off and on. When I went to the hospital, I got more and more of the jasmine. I don't smell any more anesthetic, no ether smell, no halotane smell, but only jasmine smell in the operating theatre. Within 3 days, every wakeful moment of my life was smothered by the fragrance of jasmine continuously for 9 months until I had my first interview.
You had jasmine
9 months.
omnipresent
Yeah.
for 9 months.
Yeah.
Until you first.
This was like a shield protecting me all the time. But even there, I gave up only cigarettes, not alcohol. So much so, some of my friends will come. He's a surgeon, very close friends, and we drink the same whiskey and smoke the same brand of cigarettes. I was having whiskey with me, but I don't smoke. It is too precious for me to tell my wife this dream and what I have done. This guy will offer me a cigarette. I will just unassumingly say, I just had one, thanks, I'll say. I just had one, thanks. It was too precious for me to leak this secret out even to my family. I couldn't hold it anymore. After he left, I have slept with my wife, I have kissed her, and she has never noticed that my breath is different now. Because I am doomed for life with cigarettes. They have all given up. Then I said, do you see any change in me? I asked her. Looks at me. Oh, you must have had a haircut. So finally I told her what happened. Right. The following week, exactly 4 weeks after this event, every month we go to the countryside. I have some cousins from Malaysia who have got a big farm in Armidale, which is called the New England Highway, New England. Very, very good countryside. We go there because they are wonderful cooks and they make Malaysian dishes, and it's like a weekend retreat for us getting out of Sydney. At that time I am a fast driver and I have a Jaguar XJ6 car. So we take off once a month. So we reach Armidale at 2 o'clock in the night at the end of the working day on Friday. And so the ladies go to sleep. He and I sit at the bar and drink till 4 a.m. and then go to sleep. There were 2 young girls who were in the University of Armidale, daughters of our close friends who are professionals in Sydney. So I thought I'll introduce these kids to this guy. He's a historian. Husband and wife has written many history books which are textbooks in schools in Asia. So I invited these girls to come and meet them for dinner. So we went and picked them up. And we were talking about politics in Asia. And we were talking about particularly the political situation in Ceylon, which later became Sri Lanka. The communal hatred, and it's actually a teardrop at the tip of India. This whole place, the whole world is in a mess at the moment, frankly I tell you. So let's not go into any particular country. So we were talking about that. Now he has never been to Ceylon, but he's writing books about the history. And I lived there and I'm telling him I don't agree with you on this. So both of us are not to the eyeballs but near the eyeballs with alcohol. And the heated exchange, losing cool and temper. And these young girls decide to get out of the lounge room and go to the kitchen. And the ladies are cooking some fantastic meal, and hearing all this noise, they are asking these girls, what's going on there? And these girls just said, they are drunk. So the ladies came furious. Have you seen that cartoon show called Flintstones?
Yes.
It was just like that. They came with the kitchen utensils to almost to clout us for that kind of behavior. So embarrassing. Normally,
is your wife one of these ladies?
yeah,
Oh,
my wife and
okay.
his wife.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we were guests staying with them. Normally I would have had a skin as thick as the hide of a buffalo.
Yes.
But now Baba has made it extremely sensitive. Instantly a thought flashed into my mind, if I had drunk ginger ale or orange juice or milk and talked rubbish, they won't accuse me of drunk.
Right.
But even if I have ginger ale in my hand and talk rubbish, they will say he's drunk. When that thought flashed into my head, I silently got out, went to the room, our guest room, locked the door, buried my head into the pillow and cried and cried and cried and said, Baba, you must forgive me for this. I won't touch alcohol ever again. They couldn't get me out of the room for nearly 15 minutes. I was like a child. Then I came, I didn't talk to anybody, I had my dinner and went and slept. Instantly I gave up alcohol. Returned to Sydney. I phoned up my drinking friends. I had a cellar with almost more than $1,000 of vintage wines. And I had a liquor cabinet. Name a drink I had, from Jamaican rum to Russian vodka to gin and
To American,
all kinds
to
of
American
whiskeys.
whiskey.
Yeah, any whiskey.
You're wild.
Right. So I rang my friends and said, I don't need money. Can you empty my liquor cabinet and the cellar? Because I stopped drinking. They couldn't believe. Because I was a notorious socialite. Full, get drunk and have arguments and things like that. Right. That is within 1 month of the first dream. Then 3 weeks goes.
You had no choices.
No choice. 3 weeks go. Now this time, I continue eating meat. I love some sandwiches that are brought to the surgeon's room in some private hospitals mid-morning. This is a new private hospital. Very wonderful sandwiches, ham sandwiches. So at the end of the first operation, I am out there first before the surgeon can write his notes and come over. Now the maid just brings in ham sandwiches. And I make my coffee and I take a ham sandwich and I start eating. Delicious. Suddenly, I can't swallow that. And I know it's upper motor neuron palsy called bulbar palsy, paralysis of all the swallowing muscles. I got terrified. But for the dream I had, no, I didn't tell you the dream, so you've got to go back. A week before that I had a dream where I'm driving on a very seaside place which is like a fjords, like a west coast of Scotland, and you can have lookouts. So I parked the car. My wife is not with me. My 2 daughters are in the back seat, little kids. I go out to see what looks like. Below I see a beautiful white ship, and that was pulling me. I wanted to go and see what this ship is about in no man's land. There were no steps or anything, but at one end of the lookout there was a yellow-colored plastic slide or a chute landing on the deck of that ship. Regardless of my children in the car, not my wife is not there, I want to go onto the ship. I slide down almost about 80 feet, 100 feet difference. I have a soft landing, I don't hurt my bum. Then I look around. As I lifted my head, I saw in front of the captain's bridge a golden throne and Sai Baba is seated there with a red canopy over and smiling at me. I want to get up immediately and go to him. But hardly I could think of getting up. I see his feet next to me. I look up, he's not there, he's now standing next to me. So I touch his feet and look up. I don't talk. And he uses 5 words. You are hungry, follow me. And I get up. And I start walking with him, and my wife appears now from the side of the ship with a broomstick in the hand. In other words, she's already on board the ship doing service. She comes and joins me as my wife, but doesn't smile at me. And I'm angry that, have you forgotten me now? That type of feeling. Now we walk behind Sai Baba on the polished white deck of the ship, or like Sirabud or whatever. And scenery changes because we can't walk ad infinitum because we'll go into the sea, you see. Suddenly the scenery changes. Now we are walking behind Sai Baba in a dense forest, a footpath, closely following Swami. You could hear the noise of wild animals too. It's getting dark. You can't afford to be far away from Swami and lose him. So we go close and then we come to a clearing in the jungle. And there in the clearing, we see an old dilapidated building with doors which are more than 20 feet high. All cobwebs and dust and dirt. Sai Baba pushes the door with a creaking noise. It opens all the cobweb, dust, all that fall on us. He takes us right to the sanctum sanctorum. And there's a pedestal. Like a young athlete, he jumps on that, turns around and smiles at us. In other words, simply, I am the formless God. Looking at me, he said, pointing to a table in front was heaped with steaming hot mutton pieces. Eat it. So he didn't say don't eat it, he said eat it. In other words, eat and get the hell out of it. That type of eat it.
Get over it.
Yeah.
Right.
The dream was over. Now that dream came to my rescue because everything was straightforward. In that dream there is nothing to interpret. Eat meat was the catch-22. So that dream came to my...
Follow me and then
Yeah.
eat it.
And that dream was so clear-cut. So nobody around, spat the ham out, spat everything out, take the next ham sandwich, took the ham and put in the bin, and I'm eating. What is it? Bread, butter, salt, pepper. And I was able to swallow. And I'm asking, hey, have you gone mad? Have you gone mad? Come on, have your ham sandwich as usual. So I take the next ham sandwich. Paralyzed. So I go home and I tell my wife I joined the club.
You've joined the club.
Because she was a vegetarian cooking meat for us.
Join the club.
Of
So
course.
within a few weeks, the daughters came and said, since you both are not eating meat or anything, we won't eat anything anymore. Instantly the house became vegetarian, no smoking, nothing, and all social life disappeared.
You exchanged.
Completely, instant. And I think at this point we can stop, because from then on we started a center in our house. Lot of problems, lot of rivalries, lot of jealousy we had to go through. Here we come, Baba makes us the most important visitors. We come here for the first time to Puttaparthi. In 5 days we get 3 interviews. In front of the altar I'll sit and talk, Baba, now I don't have any expenses, money is accumulating, 2 doctors earning so much of money, what do I do with the money? And the inner voice, he talks to me from inside and said, spend the money for good purpose and then spread my love and message. So, being a keen photographer, having had a Super 8 cine camera, straight away I invested on a video, because that time video was coming. I was shopping around to see whether Betamax or VHS, and ended up with a VHS.
Yes.
Can you imagine, the deck alone was 10 kilogram hanging on the shoulder like a hand baggage. The camera itself was 7 kilograms on my shoulder. I could stand and carry all this and take videos for hours. It is his energy.
Oh, that's
so I
wonderful.
came to Puttaparthi with this heavy stuff, and I was given permission to stand inside the compound and take plenty of videos of Swami.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful.
So from then on I've been videoing Baba from 1980.
From 1980.
Even after the digital studio started, in fact most of the videos they show are from my shots.
So you were a journalist.
Whatever it is,
You were Baba's journalist. Like
whatever
Ted.
it is, I think
Like
we
Ted.
will, now you are, again I'll tell you this, I'm not talking. You are drawing Swami out of me. And this is I'll tell you my experiences in Russia and Latin America as we go along.
Wonderful. Let's pause here, because you've
Yeah.
reached such a crescendo that my mouth is watering, waiting to get to the next part, beginning with your first 3 interviews with Baba, because up until this point, he smacked you on the head when you were in Darshan and Vrindavan. He came to you in dreams.
He didn't smack on the head, I was praying, God
Okay.
save me,
His hand.
and he touched my head.
He touched your hands. But I'm looking now to part 2, which will begin to
The
unfold
first interview with
his
Baba.
first interaction with you in your interview.
Yeah.
Dr. Pavan, thank you very much. This has been a wonderful
Why don't
part
you call
1.
me just Sara?
This is called Big Lotus Flower.
This is from a book which was written by, a chapter written by somebody.
Okay.
Swami had told this in his personal talks to them.
Once, Swami asked some pundits who had assumed themselves to be very knowledgeable, what is the greatest? None of them could come out with a reply. Swami said with a smile, dear ones, could you not get an answer for such a simple question? Emptiness is the greatest, due to its purity. There is nothing in it, but there is everything in it. Unless you contemplate deeply, you shall never realize. That is why great beings remain silent in front of ignorant people. No one could understand the deep-rooted meaning and remain dumb. He suddenly materialized a lotus flower, and it was big with beautiful colors and mind-boggling fragrance. Seeing this, they lost all their senses. Such flowers are available at Manasarovar only, but not easily visible. Oh, I see. Swami said, still unable to understand the reason for materializing this flower, they continued to brood over it. There is a definite reason for every deed, Swami explained. My hand was empty, that is, there was nothing in it, but actually, the whole of nature is here within. Do you remember, Ted, when he said, see this? In it is everything and nothing.
Mhm.
Nobody's a good place to be.
And I'm going to share with you something which I received. I'll tell you about what Swami talks about nobody. Then I'm going to get my book, No Country, No